Hello, everyone, and welcome to Living Room Day Heffrey. Because I moved the bookshelf out of the studio, but I missed the bookshelf. So now I just moved the camera out to the living room for one day. We'll figure it out. Cowboys stuff, though. I asked you people on the Twitter at JC1053 what you wanted to hear about with the Cowboys. And the first thing, of course, was rookie minicamp standout. So we'll start there. I wasn't out there. So what I have to do in these scenarios is rely on people that I trust that are really smart, that were out there. Micah Parons as a pass rusher, Jabril Cox with an interception in coverage. But the most interesting one that I've seen is Barry Church on a DallasCowboys.com podcast talking about Isreal Mukuamu, the South Carolina corner. He was the guy who was opposite J.C. Horn at South Carolina. And Barry Church was talking about him in a really good way as a guy that just looks like he moves well. That's the thing about rookie minicamps is it's going to be tough. Like, it's great that Micah Parons beat Josh Ball on some pass rush reps, but it's really more about learning assignment and getting a feel for how these guys move. And so the fact that an NFL veteran safety like Barry Church was noticing Isreal Mukuamu, that's a good thing. Because I've talked about this over and over again. The Cowboys at free safety, they got nothing. They got DeMonte KZ, but you're talking about he's going to be 9 or 10 months off of a torn Achilles when it's time to, be in camp or in a starting spot. They don't have depth. They don't have guys at free safety. So seeing what Barry Church said about Isreal Mukuamu, that is my favorite storyline of the rookie minicamp so far. Other guys, it's great that Jabril Cox had an interception. He is going to be a guy that I think is the best coverage linebacker on this team already. Somebody had said on one of my videos in a comment, like, you always hype up these rookies, and LVE was so good a couple of years ago. And, like, the Jabril Cox part of this is not hype. In college, that was a guy that could lock down tight ends, that could cover slot receivers. He's not a complete NFL linebacker at this point. But when you're talking about coverage, he's better than Jalen Smith. He's better than Leighton Vander Esch. He's better than Micah Parons. He may be better than Keanu Neal. That's Jabril Cox's thing. That dude can cover. For real, for real. So that, we got to see a little bit of evidence of that. Get to see a turnover. What's tough about rookie minicamps is the guys you brought in to throw the ball can't throw. So it was going to be hard to have wide receivers stand out. You were going to get to hear about the defense. One other encouraging thing that we've had from the rookie minicamps is Wright. That's a dude that I think a lot of people are going to be pulling for, because anytime you have a pick, this happened to the Texas Rangers when they picked Evan Carter, who was at end of the first round or the second round, and nobody had him in their top 300 rankings or whatever, and they got killed for it. But now MLB people are like, dude, they really picked a really good player because they did their homework. Wright is the same thing. Not a lot of people had seen him. And so because of the Rona year, and it's like, whatever the consensus rankings are, if you overlook someone, then that's the end for that guy, for most analysts, because all of us, myself included, you know who I decided who to watch? Other people's rankings. So I got down to like 180 on the great Dane Brugler's list, and that's the end of where I got to. So if one guy didn't have him ranked higher, then the entire media world is going to be like, who the heck is this? Because of the Rona year. In non-Rona year, when scouts are on the road and everybody's communicating with each other, the Cowboys scouts would have been at the pro day, they would have talked to other team scouts, blah, 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 and that's how names start to circulate. So you picked an under-the-radar guy that most people weren't talking about, and so the world's going to kill you for it. When I actually watched him, I thought, I still liked Ifeatu Melifonwu and Elijah Molden better than Wright as football players, but I don't think it was atrocious to take him in the third round. I would have thought he would have gone in like the fourth. But what's the difference? If you like your guy, you pick your guy. Otherwise, somebody else might pick your guy. So the fact that Wright, by all reports, looks like he's ready to go and that his movement skills and all that look good, I think that's encouraging from your rookie minicamp. Now, moving on to other questions that I've gotten from people at Cowboys Stats and Graphics, or at Cowboys Stats on Twitter. Your theory on the UFOs and what each possible explanation would mean for the Cowboys' 2021 championship odds. Don't think the UFOs affect the Cowboys' championship odds. I do find it curious. We've seen so many UFOs, but we've seen no aliens, That makes me curious. But then again, I just learned the other day that the sun is the only star in our solar system. I thought there were tons of stars. That just happened to be the one that was the closest. So I don't know much about the UFOs and the aliens. I'm more of a Bigfoot guy. But it's curious. So many UFOs, but we've seen no little green men. Interesting. Joshua Soto, maybe talk about the defensive line and how our first, second, third-year players can fit into the rotation. Well, the rookie class, I think, is going to be good. The rookie class, starting with Oso Odighizuwa, I think he's going to help you at defensive tackle. And when you go three-man line, probably playing some defensive end. But I think that's a dude that's going to take snaps from people. That's a dude that Neville Gallimore and Tristan Hill are going to have to try to beat out for snaps. So I think one of those two could absolutely be in trouble on the roster. And if I had to guess one, it would be Tristan Hill. But Oso Odighizuwa is going to take snaps from somebody. Chauncey Golston's going to do the same thing. Chauncey Golston, when you're in a four-man line, and this team got destroyed in the run game last year, he's a smart, instinctual, find-the-ball power player. That's Chauncey Golston. He's going to take snaps from somebody, probably Dorrance Armstrong. So those are guys that you keep your head on a swivel, and you look at how much do they make, because how much money do they make? That's what Stephen Jones is going to look at. He's going to be like, all right, these youngsters, can he take snaps from him? Bow, saved $1 million. Bow, saved $2 million. That's going to be the Stephen Jones role in this thing. But yeah, I think Golston's going to help you. I think Bohanna, the Kentucky nose tackle, he's going to help. He's your real life, listed at 327 at his pro day. Cowboys list him at 360. But either way, he said it. He's like, yeah, linebackers love me because they get to make plays, because I'm the giant there that's going to deal with the blocks. The second-year players is the interesting part, because Dan Quinn had a lot to say about this draft. Your new defensive coordinator, Dan Quinn, had a lot to say about this draft. So when he brings guys in, guys that aren't his, they're in trouble. Like, if you used a first 3-round pick on a guy, he's making your team, right? Kelvin Joseph's making the team. Deshaun Wright is making the team at corner. And so the guys that you already had here, if you're not one of the top 3, you're in trouble. And maybe one of the top 3 is in trouble because, again, Stephen Jones wild card. Stephen Jones might look at it and be like, okay, which guy's going to start in the slot, Brown or Lewis? All right, Diggs is going to be outside, and Joseph or Wright's going to be outside. Can I save $2 million and cut Anthony Brown? So you got to keep your head on a swivel because the new defensive coordinator has his guys, and if you're not one of his guys, then they don't care about you. It's kind of how it works. It's going to be a real-life meritocracy for the first time in a long time, and I absolutely love it. Let's see. Some guy said who stood out at minicamp. Kind of went through that. Carlos on Twitter is, you heard the same thing from Barry Church about Isreal Mukuamu. To me, that's the biggest positive to come out of camp. And all of these things could mean nothing. We're just starved for football, right? So, but hearing an NFL veteran safety who played in the league for a long time watch a guy and go like, man, he really looks the part playing a new position. That, to me, is absolutely encouraging. Hoodie back. How's Kelvin been doing? Is Quinn's impact noticeable and any really noticeable standouts? Okay, Kelvin Joseph, I don't know. I didn't hear a ton about him other than our very own Brian Broaddus at 105.3 The Fan, who said the first day looked like he may not have necessarily been prepared for camp, and then on the second day he looked better. But his college tape is outstanding, so assuming that he is about football, I think he's going to be a good player. Dan Quinn's impact is incredibly noticeable. Last year was a train wreck. Mike Nolan was a train wreck. The defensive coaching staff was a train wreck. And Dan Quinn, so far all I know about him is obviously his past defenses, but I also know, that Dan Quinn's a teacher and that Dan Quinn lives for this stuff. I love listening to him talk. I don't love listening to Mike McCarthy talk. He'll entertain me sometimes, but I feel like if he hadn't been asked a question in 2 or 3 questions, he's up there with Jerry and Steven. It's like he fell asleep and forgot. He's like, is that for me? What? And Dan Quinn, it's like, whoa, let me tell you how excited I am to be here. I love getting out there and getting hands-on with these players. I love teaching technique to defensive linemen. He lives for this stuff. I'm excited about Dan Quinn. All right, you have a job to do. Mash the like button at youtube.com/Jeff Cavanaugh on this. Leave in the comments what you want to hear about tomorrow so I can answer your questions. And, of course, make sure you're checking out 1053thefan.com every day. The 1053 The Fan YouTube page. Brian brought us both of his recaps of his days at the rookie minicamp are up there, so I'm sure those will interest you, so check those out. And remember to be cool to everybody, because you have no idea what anybody's going through. And remember that I love you. Bye.